Hi again, everyone. Ken from Whittling Woods back again. This little video is going to be a continuation of the chess pieces. We started a pawn in the last video, which was actually part of a different series called Get Started Whittling Today. I'll have the links down in the description for that series. It gets you kind of started right away whittling. It's going to be a little different. This is, for a project that would be carving all the various pieces on a chess set. I figured I would pick up with that. We started the pawn, like I said in the last video on the Get Started Whittling Today. And this series will do the remainder of the chess pieces. And today's video is going to be about the knight. And as you can see over here, this is the figure we're going to be carving. This is going to be the knight. I've marked all the measurements on the piece. This is a piece of basswood. You can use whatever wood you like. We're going to use basswood. It's a relatively easy wood to carve. It's readily available in different locations, and it's a good carving wood. It holds detail very nice, and it's very easy to carve. The measurements, as you can see, the entire length here of the whole piece, basically from the top to the base of the piece, is 2 3/8 of an inch. The other measurements you can see, 3/16 is basically going to be the top part over here. The hair on the horse's, or excuse me, well, the horse's head, but in this case of the knight. We're going to go down from the top 1 1/8 of an inch. That's going to be the bottom of the knight's this area, the mouth, the nose. 1 3/8 down for the back of the mane, which would be over here. Again, these are chess pieces. I'm using horse terms, but these are chess pieces. 1 3/8 of an inch would be this position over here. 1/4 of an inch is basically the base. That's over here. So I'll give you a minute to mark down these measurements, and then we'll get started carving. Okay, there you go. What I'm going to do is get my knives ready to go, and I will be right back. Okay, we're back. For this particular carving, we're going to be using these two knives here. These knives are from North Bay Forge. If you've watched any of my prior videos, you know I'm a big fan of North Bay Forge knives. You can, I'll have a link in the description for the North Bay Forge website, and you can take a look at their knives. I like them a lot. There's, of course, many other knives you can use out there. You can even use the Stanley 199 or a pocket knife, or any other carving knife you have. Again, it's not specific. You don't have to use these knives. You can obviously use anything you need. Here's the two knives. I'll put them there. So one's just slightly larger than the other one. It's a little more detail with the smaller one, and make the bulk of your wood carving will be done with the slightly larger knife. So there you go. I stropped them up. They're all ready to go, and I'll be right back. Get the piece ready, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. We're going to start the carving, or we'll. If you watch the pawn video, carving the pawn, it's going to be similar in many ways to that video. The cuts are fairly simple. We'll move pretty quickly through this, and slightly more advanced, but not really much. It's still very simple to do, a good beginner's carving. So first thing, we're going to make a little notch cut here. Just like that. And same thing on the sides. And actually on the sides, you can just, instead of making a notch cut, you can actually just carve straight up like that. There you go. From the top, kind of looks like that. So this is going to be the front. This is going to be the side again. Just carve straight up like that. Make it easy. Try to get it fairly uniform. This is going to form, this area in here is going to form the mane for the knight figure here, which is of course basically a little horse. And we'll carve that back just a little bit. Okay, pretty straightforward. That's all there is to it. There's view from the top over here. Okay, next, the bottom of the nose. I'm just going to put a little stop cut in there and cut right up to it. Pretty much that's it. For the back of the mane, we're going to go right in here, put a stop cut, and start cutting up to that. You can actually take it right from your baseline and go right up to it. Take your time. Again, these are very straightforward cuts, nothing too complicated. Push and stop cuts. That's pretty much it. Trying to make the design for these figures and the carving as simple as possible for people who are just getting into whittling, or if you just want to carve a pretty basic chess set. It's also can be used. Well, that is the purpose. So it's pretty straightforward even for people who know how to carve and whittle. Just flatten it out a bit. I like to add a little bit of a curve in the back over there. I think it adds just a little bit more style. So just add a little bit of a curve if you so choose. You can make it straight if you like, but I tend to add a little bit of a curve. And we're going to do the same thing on the sides over here. We're going to basically take it straight up. So there you go. Just take down that edge a bit. Same thing on the other side. You'll notice when you're doing this, and this is again for people who haven't done a lot of carving. In this, you're going to hear people who have carved talk about the cutting and carving with the grain. On this side here, I'm pretty much carving with the grain. It comes off pretty easily. It doesn't tear. That's carving with the grain. On the other side over here, the grain's running in the opposite direction, so it'll tear out a little bit more. So be careful when you're carving against the grain. You might have to come back and clean it up. Take your time. Try to keep the sides fairly symmetrical if you can. There you go. Take a little bit more off there. Let's flatten the nose out just a bit. Then what we're going to do next is undercut where the mane is going to be just slightly. A little notch cut down to it. Do it on both sides. Just a stop cut and cut down to it like so. Then what I like to do to make this easier, you could actually come out and define this with cuts down along both sides and through the top. I don't really think you have to. I think it looks fine without doing that, but what I do like to do is come in here and start taking little small swoop cuts around the top over here. You can kind of see it from the top how that's coming out. Just go all around and start doing that all the way to the back. And again, this is the way I do it. You don't have to do it this way. You can cut it out or go about it in a slightly different way. There you go. Something like that. Take it towards the back a little bit more, again, swooping on both sides, like so. Let's finish up the front here a little bit. And take a little bit more off the nose a bit. There you go. Pretty easy. What I like to do is flare the bottom of the nose up just a bit. I cut in like that, and I take out that piece of wood. Pretty much like so. Same thing on the other side. There you go. Clean it up a bit if you have any frayed pieces. You can go back when it's all done and kind of do that too. I like to undercut the nose just a bit. Don't do too much, it may weaken it, but I do undercut it just a bit. Okay. I like to round out the bottom of the nose. This almost gives the illusion of kind of nostrils at the base of the nose over there, which I guess a horse would have. Kind of like that. Again, go back when you're all done. You can clean up some of the frayed pieces or what have you. I also like to undercut the mane just a little. I take it back just a little bit more. I think it just looks better that way. Again, a lot of this are stylistic choices that you make as you'll do it, and you can come up with slight modifications the way you like to do it. I'm just kind of showing you the way I do it. I also like to give the back of the mane just a little bit of a flare on both sides as well. What I also like to do, rather than undercutting, I cut sort of a slope at the base of the mane, like so. If you can see that. The nose was slightly undercut, and this was sloping in the opposite direction. I think it just brings the piece together a little bit better that way. Okay, and as you can see, we're pretty far along. You want to go back and clean up all your pencil marks. You're going to probably have a lot less than I do because I wrote the measurements in here, but you don't need to obviously write measurements. And that's kind of how I do it. And sometimes you clean up the surface a little bit by just going back and taking light little cuts like that all around. Be careful again if you're cutting against the grain. It'll tear out. Go in the opposite direction if you start getting resistance. And that's kind of it. Base, if you watch the video on doing the pawn, then you'll see how I do that. And I would suggest that you probably watch that video and do a couple pawns as well. Some of the cuts we're using here and some of the techniques are pretty much the same. Again, I'm trying to keep this all the pieces that we'll be doing in this series relatively consistent in their look. This is a fairly stylized chess set. Again, we're going to make a notch in the base like that and cut up to it. So you want to go around and just do that. Take your time with this. Kind of like that. And then just connect all those lines. You're creating the flared base, as you can see over here. That's what we're doing. So put your stop cut in the bottom and just cut at a slight angle up to that. And go all around and do that. There you go. What I like to then do is come back and I flare the bottom of the piece itself in the opposite direction, just like so. Again, these are stylistic choices. You don't have to do this. You can find other designs that you like, but just the way I do it. And then I follow up with the piece itself. It creates a little chamfer kind of on the edge of that base over there. I think since these are going to be something that's used and handled a lot, if you have sharper edges and corners, they may break, they may get chipped or something like that. So if you add that little chamfer, it tends to make the piece a little bit more durable, I believe. And as you can see, we're pretty done here. I would go back maybe and start cleaning up your piece the way you like it. There is one other thing I like to do. We use the smaller knife. As you can see on the top of the mane, I created a bit of a swoop in here. I just think it looks better than just having it flat like that. But stylistic choices. For that, I just come in here and take little swooping cuts on both sides. Don't try to take too much at once. Just go around and take little swooping cuts and clean it up a little bit. And that's kind of it. I like to round back out as well. And there you go. That's pretty much it. We took those swooping cuts in here, clean those up a bit. You can come back and maybe define the mane a little bit more. I think it needs just a little bit more in this case over here. I'm using the smaller knife so I can make a slightly tighter curve in here. And I think we can call this one done. I hope you enjoyed that. It's a fairly straightforward beginner's project, not too hard to do. It'll get you another chess piece if you're following along with the series, and if you're a beginner to whittling, it'll give you practice in symmetry and working with different types of cuts, and it gives you a goal. You got a bunch of little pieces you can whittle out in this project, this ongoing project, the series that we'll have here. And I think we'll have to see what the next one is. I was going to do the bishop, but to be honest with you, the bishop is actually very much like the pawn, just a little notch in the top. But we'll maybe show you that quickly in another video that we do. I haven't decided which the next piece will be. I'm thinking probably the rook would be a good one. It's a little different, and we'll have a pawn, a knight, and a rook, and we'll show you quickly how to do a bishop, and then we can deal with the king and queen. Again, I'm keeping the designs as I kind of sketch these out, whittle sketch these out, as simple as possible, so everyone can kind of anyone can kind of do it with any skill level. And for those who are more skilled at whittling and wood carving, they can take it to the next level and add a lot more detail if they so choose. But there you go. That was a quick, easy little video, a little carving project there to do a chest knight. Alrighty, I'll cut these pieces out and show you the final product. Be right back. Okay, here we are. We're all back. The two pieces are cut out. I put a wash on the one piece to make it a little darker, and we have ourselves two little chest knights. So pretty basic, and you can see they're pretty straightforward, like we did. Pretty easy carve. You can do this relatively quickly. It only take you probably about 10 to 15 minutes to carve them out, so they shouldn't take you that long. And again, they don't have to be perfectly identical. A little variation's a good thing. These are not made in a machine. These are handmade, so you want some variation, want some difference between piece to piece. Aim for consistency, but the variation's always a good thing when you're doing something that's handmade. That's our goal. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. There's a look at the chess pieces, and thank you very much for watching. Much appreciated.